Hey everybody, this is the Canadian Wolf bringing you another Reddit story. This one is from the Entitled Parents subreddit and is titled, Karen Follows Son to College, Repeatedly Escorted Away by Campus Police. Let's get to it, Pack. So I have an almost endless supply of entitled parent stories because I've worked in advising at an expensive private university. Today, I was reminded about the most epic one by her son, who is back in town for a reunion. Let me tell you about one Karen and her super embarrassed son. We'll call him Phil. Karen was the ultimate helicopter parent with no boundaries whatsoever. In spite of living across country from the university, she came with Phil to orientation and moved into a hotel on the edge of campus for the entire first semester. There was not one meeting or event I ever held that semester that Karen didn't try to crash. It started during orientation. She escorted poor Phil everywhere and demanded her own name badge that said Phil's mother on it so she'd be let into orientation events. When we wouldn't make her one, she went to Staples and got them to print one for her. She threw 16 kinds of fits demanding her own university ID that would let her access the dorms, massively against every policy we have. She tried having Phil claim his was lost so she could get a second one of his. Apparently, the concept that we just deactivate the lost one escaped her. The house manager of the dorm had to tell her to leave and stop beating on the door to be let in every morning. She also demanded a university email account so she could directly access our learning management system. We declined, and access is granted by class list anyway. She wouldn't have been able to see anything even if she'd gotten that precious guest account. She then went to the help desk and threw such an epic-ish fit about needing to keep an eye on Phil's work that the campus police had to escort her out. It must be absolutely exhausting to be Karen. Karen also showed up at the first advising group meeting, and every single one thereafter, and insisted on coming along to the dinner I was taking them on. I tried my very best to tell her that wasn't happening. Students only. She went on a screaming tirade about how much money she spent on tuition and how dare I separate her from her baby. He'd never been anywhere alone before. Yes, I completely believe that. She literally followed us to the restaurant, grabbed a spare chair, and pulled it up to the table where my group was seated. She tried to order for Phil and herself the second the server came to the table, and I informed the server she was not with our party, I wasn't paying for any of her stuff, and could she please be removed as she was very much unwelcome. Nobody else brought their mother. Poor Phil was completely mortified as she was kicked out of a popular local restaurant, screaming the whole way. The first advising meeting, where we registered the students for classes, was a real trip. She, of course, showed up with Phil and threw a screaming fit he hadn't gotten into a very popular class that was lottery only. No freshman ever got into this class. It wasn't going to happen. I also don't take advising meetings with parents present. Not even on the phone. So this whole fit about the lottery class happened in the lobby of my building. Awkward. I eventually got Phil registered, but back at my door he was a half hour later. Mother hadn't liked what he picked and he needed to change his registration before it was even finalized, which I couldn't do because we'd already submitted it and he had to take an add drop form instead. The whole time she's standing outside my office door screaming at me for being stupid to register him for the class I did, and he'd never get into a good grad school with such stupid courses on his transcript. Of course, her alternate choice was also extremely popular and had already had its lottery. The screech about how he already had been stuck with a second choice could probably be heard 3 buildings away. She additionally wanted me to get him into a physical ed class immediately that hadn't even held registration yet. WTF? Crazy lady was screaming about how he needed to take fencing outside my door for a good 20 minutes while I tried to register another student. She eventually got asked to leave. She was a full-tilt frequent flyer with the campus police before registration day even arrived. Every single time she would loudly yell at them that she was just standing up for her baby boy. Another event I took the crew to that year was a baseball game. Sure enough, she tried to RSVP. I informed her students only. She informed me Phil wasn't allowed to go without her, so there'd better be a ticket for both of them. I was again firm in replying, students only. She showed up. She threw another ish fit and literally ripped a ticket out of one of the other kids' hands, then took off with it. It was a sold-out game. I didn't have extras. I don't know how Karen thought this would end, but I am a season ticket holder. One quick call and that ticket was canceled, and a replacement waiting for us at will call. I was later told by my season ticket rep that she threw quite the ish fit at the gate when her ticket didn't work and had been reported stolen reissued. Phil never did join the rest of us in the stands. Of course, she tried to follow poor Phil to classes and showed up to the professor's office hours to yell at them about assignments and grades. I didn't see any of that myself, but word got around. I don't believe she ever got arrested for any of it. Campus police don't tend to like to do that with parents, but everybody in the administration knew of her. Everybody. Karen finally went home and stayed there at Christmas break. According to Phil, the hotel was sick of her ish and wouldn't extend her reservation any further. I can only imagine what a nightmare she was to them. Apparently, that was enough to get her to leave for good. Poor Phil never quite lived down the horrid reputation he got as a result. But at least he escaped her at last. Don't be Karen. Just drop your kid at orientation, buy them a mini fridge, and go home. Phil turned out fine, by the way. Graduated, has a good job, not much of a relationship with Karen anymore. Well, if Karen was my mom, I would have been telling her to leave and asking campus security to serve her a trespass notice. There comes a time when Mama Bird has to let her chicks fly on their own. Makes you wonder if she ever stopped to think of the effect her behavior had on her son. I'm guessing that's likely a big nope. Well everybody, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this story. If so, make sure to hit that like button and go give the author an upvote on Reddit. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification so you know when my next video comes out. This is the Canadian Wolf saying, stay wild.